Hey everybody, I'm Tyler Edlin and I have a fun feedback video for you guys today. Now if you don't know, some of the best ways to learn and improve your art and your illustration is to not only enter these sort of challenges in any kind of communities, not just mine, but you can find a link below in the description of the Discord, but is to also watch feedback of others and try to take that in. Take your notes because a lot of these people making the same mistakes. So I hope I can help you guys today. And of course, this video is brought to you by Wing Fox. So let's get in. It's just me. We're going to go through all the entries. All right, folks. So this tutorial is brought to us by our good friends over at Wing Fox. In their new tutorial by Gary Chang, which is 12 hours and 30 minutes in length, it's pretty in-depth. He's going to use his 6+ years of experience to show you how he creates stylized environments for games. And with experience with such large companies like NetEase and Tencent, he's really got it down to a very efficient workflow he's going to show you in this tutorial. So in this series, he's pretty much just going to use Photoshop and Blender, and he's going to bring a ruined flooded city to life. Now in this first stage, this is a great way to work. He's going to actually have a good part of the lecture actually about design, coming up with ideas to using reference, basically how to tell your own story. And in the second stage, after all the planning, it's going to be purely execution, following through that laid out plan. So other topics in the second part is going to include 2D sketches, using Blender effectively, overpainting, and photo bashing. Great for any aspiring concept artist. Alright, so now with these we're going to go from top to bottom, left to right. It is just going to be me here today. I wanted to get Jess in as well, but she's out traveling, visiting some family, and I've delayed this long enough, and I apologize. But I'm going to be happy to break down your art and let you guys know what I think and if I have any tips or suggestions for you guys today. Now the theme was Spring of Rebirth, and it's quite fascinating, honestly, to see how some of you guys interpreted that. I mean, I always have fun leaving some ambiguity in there for this reason. I think in my head originally I was thinking of like, it's springtime. Let's have something, some kind of rejuvenation pool where, everything's coming back to life. And a lot of you took a very dark take on that, which is cool, right? Variety. So let's start up in here by Cypher Abyss. Cypher, this is immensely awesome. Definitely one of your cooler pieces. I like everything that's going on up here. You can see your drawings and your designs for that feel absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, with that quality, I don't think goes through the whole painting. I think there's a consistency issue, kind of going on with that. Like the figure in the foreground is blurry. You see, look at that. It doesn't look like it was nearly as designed as your other figures up here. I think if you're kind of having I assume it's like a circular area up there and the pool of water is down there. There's a bit of a missed opportunity going on here that I think, because the setting, the setup is really cool. I would say you didn't stick the landing, because there's a lot of things on the table here that look cool. First thing I'd do is subtly rotate that pose here. I need something to draw over. Sorry, morning, warming up here. 3/4, so they're all kind of facing inward. See, like this one, we're looking straight at the back, straight at the front. Those are the easier poses to draw. I get that. But again, if it looked more cohesive and circular, if we saw again, facing that way slightly, facing this way, and then maybe you have the legs or some kind of partial torso standing on a block here. You don't want to draw a third guy? That's okay. Just draw the legs. It would really kind of flesh that out. Now, the other thing that I would try to do is have more of this light kind of coming up, creating that atmosphere and that mood. I think to do something like that too may require to go a bit darker, maybe overall with the piece. So I'm gonna try that. I don't know if something like this is gonna work, but sometimes you gotta try it first. See, I'd get it all a little bit, see, a little bit darker, right? A little more dramatic. But that would allow you, right? If you go darker, for example, you could take the front of this. Do I have like a brush specifically for this? I don't know. But I want to show that the rock, right, is getting affected by this warmer kind of light, you know, emitting. I'm just going to do this really quickly, so I apologize. Right, some of that light. I'm just being slightly inconsistent with that myself. You know, like that. And then, you know, like again on this, the front of that leg. Like again, like a little bit of this underglow on all the statues kind of coming up. So we would see that. See, this area is really confusing. I'm not sure what face is what. You're going to have that light coming really strong at the bottom, fading upward, essentially to, again, illuminating all the under shapes, or under forms rather, right, of these figures, to really give it that kind of powerful aura, you know, in essence. See what I mean? Like, it's just going to pop everything quite a bit more. Like, we'd see like a little bit of that, and even more so, like on the, if you turn this form, you wouldn't want to go much higher than that, but in terms of like having that, but get like a little on those cheeks back there, really push those out. Right, get some of those corners there. That would be like the start of that. I think would definitely kind of help. And again, you're gonna have to sort out. It looks like once you got beyond this area, you didn't know what to do with the piece. You're gonna have to get in there, plan this out. Like, none of this here is really adding to the appeal of that. You just have to go back, right, and sort it out. Great piece overall. Love the tone, love the moon. Again, didn't stick the landing. Josho class. All right, here we go. So overall, I love the theme. I love kind of what's going on here. But I think for me, this is marred by technical issues. Some of them are more like structural, like composition. I have a habit to like, okay, like I kind of look here, but then my eye immediately goes here, right? You're sending me through a frame in the picture, and there's no payoff. Like, there's nothing to look at down here, but a lot of the picture is focused on, right, sending us down this funnel back there. So it's like, well, you know, what's going on down there? What's the story? So you got to figure that out, I think. Lastly, the shapes of a large part of these rocks I find too jarring. Like, it's overly sharp, like it's distractingly so. Like, I simplify. Like, do we need like all these little, like, look at this, it's like craggy, like, do we need all that? Can you just like say, hey, we have a rock here, like same thing but like with 15 less shapes going on, and then you could paint the forms, you know, on top of that. You know what I mean? Like, does it need to be as distracting, especially near the focal point? You got like fish, again, you could probably afford to get a little more contrast on those. Let's really see that. Let's bring it out. And reference, what kind of rocks are these? Like, literally, right, if we go to Google, right here, we do types of rock formations, you're gonna see there's a lot to work with, even for a sci-fi picture in our own world. And it looks like your rocks are completely unreferenced, because I can't tell specifically what kind they are. Maybe I just don't know. Maybe I don't know, but I definitely would get reference. Make these rocks look more than like those generic digital Photoshop-y, digital art kind of rocks. You just paint the shape. Like, that's a great first step, but let's go deeper, right? Let's go beyond that. Otherwise, pretty cool. There is some like over use of like some of this light bending around. Like, I wouldn't necessarily get that all that pink and stuff on the underside. Like, you'd have some of it, sure, but yeah, overall it's really cool thematically. I'm gonna go down to, let's go to this one. It's kind of tuck in the road. Saluba. All right. So this is what happens when we're kind of like all 3D and we kind of just stop there. Like you could tell exactly what's 3D and exactly what you painted in after. And there's like a large separation between like the fluidity of this like feeling like a really well executed illustration, because it feels like it's a placeholder for a finished project. Your texture work is great. Your model is cool, but there's really nothing, kind of bringing it all artistically forward. So it's all kind of focused a lot on the technical, and it's not embracing the more artistic side of it. Like so you have like part of this lotus blossom thing in this pool with light here, but then you're right, it doesn't really do anything beyond there. It seems like you could push some of that light, and you got to feel some of this. That's what I'm saying. There's not a right or wrong way to do this, but it feels like there's a lot undercooked here, and I would try to really push a lot of that and get lighting and atmosphere. See, like this, it's all stock texture stuff. Like paint, get some textury brushes. Have a lot of that. Kind of use the brushwork as glue to basically merge and blend everything together. So see, like often enough I just paint in texturally like this, and I'm like, okay, like if this is like a little bit of light like that, okay, yeah, it's gonna do that. And then like down here we could go even darker. This is just like a small little sampling of what you could do, of course. But like, right, I take a first pass at something like that, skew it, warp it, do it, do whatever you need to. But I definitely would get some brushwork in here and then start to blend that, artistically into everything. See, like back there is, for example, like super hyper detailed, and it all very kind of sharp. But it's like maybe that would all be best outside here. I know you got a transmission mesh and stuff, but like probably just bring the lighting out, because what are we gonna do back there anyway? And see, like we should see that as a shape too, because it doesn't really matter what's out there. And then of course you'll see more of that over here and here, which I didn't obviously draw, right? But then you could bring that lighting really into the scene and really make a spectacle of this. But I don't know what the connection is between like these little guys and this. It like, where are the figures? It does feel like there should be people summoning and chanting all around this in very ornate robes. And the floor feels vastly under designed. See, like you have like this section, and then the floor section, but none of them are flowing together architecturally and structurally speaking. There's no kind of dominant theme that's dropping up. So again, I'd take some time to flesh out that concept. Andy, I like this, but there's a lot of dark, dead space in the picture. You got to bring more subtlety into your light. So like, for example, if these are really this bright, right? Why not have a little bit of an aura around those? A little bit of aura kills that black. It'll make your picture a lot easier, right? A lot easier on the eyes. Bring that. Use a little bit of the cloud brush. But yeah, structurally though, not my favorite. There's a lot of weird things going on. Like I don't understand what necessarily some of these other parts are in here. Like what is this like a piece here? I don't know if this is negative space and that this is like off here, or if this too confusing. And again, it feels too rushed in parts of it as well. I think this as a core idea really works, and I think these guys are cool. It's just like the framing, the composition, the storytelling, and again, like I said, the lighting, I feel really kind of holds us back. It needs a lot more sketching, a lot more thumbnails, but there is a good idea here. Don't get me wrong. We'll go to this one. Kromalo. How you doing? Been a while. Glaciers. Yeah. I think for me, the disconnect, like, okay, like I see, you know, you got like a Rover, a Range Rover, kind of a Jeep, kind of Explorer going off-roading. For me, it's like, why is there more of like a sports car here, right? They're usually typically very low to the ground. They're not going to off-road very well. And I'm like, why is that car there? That and it being orange itself, it's like, I don't, it is very, like, it catches the eye, but I think, again, even having then like an Explorer or two, you know, outside that, doing something, make this thing like super big, right? Like give it like the Jeep version 2.0. Maybe they have like a little kit to survey. Like, tell a story with this. You're just kind of just like putting it out there and forgetting about it. I could see the references here on this rock, but this, though it's got some beautiful artistry to it, it still lacks, I think, good structure and form to it, so that it looks, you know, it should look three-dimensional to some degree. Like, you kind of made this beautiful glacier thing here, which looks very nice in 3D as well. But like, where's the other snow? See, like, you got great snow, I think, that could have been added in to make another interesting pattern. Not that I just did that interestingly at all, but you know what I mean? Like, there should be like scattered shapes of snow, probably about, you know, like tracks, things like that. I'd probably balance that out. That's a little distracting. But yeah, I could see what it's doing here, and it kind of works for that. It's still a little, like, it's showing that there's water there, but since this isn't water falling from there, I think you could do better in terms of like setting this up, you know, to make this more interesting visually. Like, maybe that goes like that, and then maybe that's like that, then maybe this is, you know, kind of like that, you know, just to break all of this up a little bit more. Like, you know, have that go behind it like that a bit more. Bring in, see, like this, you could have some nice atmosphere, you know, separating out, right, some of those shapes. The lighting's a little flat, but you could push that. You know, you could really push having nice lighting coming down. Not that that was nice lighting, you know, but find a way to frame this, and then like light is gonna happen, hitting here, right? You're gonna get all those like beautiful colors, you know, that you'll see in a glacier. Like, again, it feels like you're working against yourself to undersell the beauty of this idea. Like, and you're just like, okay, I got a reference or two, and you're kind of tiptoeing in and around it, but you're not really committing to a bigger idea and message here. Damiano. Oh my, this is dark. This is crazy. It's like kind of like a circus for freaks and undead guys. They got like an audience. These people in the front are beautifully executed, by the way. Super cool. I think there's a value issue overall. Like, the readability of this gets, like, I know this is the main draw here. I like it for that, but at the same time, you see, like, this is like too distracting. That big sliver of like white back there, not enough emphasis there. So, few things, you know, I would do. Maybe I'd like up the contrast on this even further. This is a crazy piece. I do like it. So you just get those elements, see, like a little bit deeper, a little richer in there. And also, I'd go behind it, particularly, see, it's like this. That's yours originally. I didn't add that in. That's really distracting. I'd paint that out. See, like this whole shape. I'd start to work to get more contrast. See, like a lot deeper, a lot darker. You can disregard my poor selecting decisions up on some of that, but see like how that will start to really come out, and then ditch this big light spot and that spot back there. It's just too much. Watch, it's not going to take much. Not going to take much, because it's what I call a badass piece. It is. Promise. Right, so get rid of that. Get rid of this big distracting shape back there. Just do something with it. I don't know. Anything. Have it come right behind. Still want this to kind of come in front of that. I agree. But that, for me, like, maybe like that works okay. Or maybe just bring down the, see, like, just bring down the light of it overall. So not going to like white, essentially, but yeah, I had to look at it. Then, see, there's also too sharp. I think if you knock a little bit of that out of focus, see, there's like a little bit of a ring here. It's basically, you got a complicated image, and it's kind of getting in the way of itself at times. I think just a nice little revision of, all right, like a little bit of extra atmo, really simply back there, whether it's warm or cool. Just separate these big shapes, focus on that, and you'll be good. This is crazy. I love it. Way darker than I thought. All right, we got a bunch of that stuff done. We'll go through this. This is cool. Snikes, right? Snikes, that's your name? I like it. But it still feels very unfinished. Especially, you know, when you really look at it, it's kind of messy. Everything about that is kind of messy. Like, where's the brush strokes? Where's, you know, it's hard to delineate, right? Very specific shapes. And here when it's, maybe it's the lower res nature of it, but see, like, even so, it, like, there's not, it says messiness. I don't have another word for it. It's technique. It's like, we got to see a lot of those edges cleaned up too. And then here, it's like the light is kind of back here, but then we're also really illuminating this back side. You know, like back here. So like the light is doing a little bit of bending, you know, through space and stuff. So that's a little much. See, like, and we lose, you know, a lot of that structure over there. Yeah, it's, the lighting's inconsistent. See, like, a lot of this blends together. Like, I assume this is a tree, and it's weird because, like, there's not, like, the pathway here. There's nothing that visually separates this from this. So this whole area is quite a bit busy. We have a focal point very, very high up there, but it's like, what's going on all through here? You know, like, it's a bit much. I think you'd have to put something interesting down here. I would just lower a lot of that. It needs some work. I don't know how much you planned it out, but I think more thumbnails can definitely help. A basic 3D model, so you could spin it around, nail the composition before committing. Sigi. Sorry if I got your name wrong. I like the idea. Don't like necessarily execution. It's a very loud image. It's very noisy. Like, it's boom, boom. Like, a lot of things just, like, slamming my eye left and right. And then again, there's not a lot of subtlety to it. So, like, again, if you look at, you duplicate this and then desaturate it, and then we'll go one step further, take out the detail. So we see the shapes. It's like light, dark, max contrast, max contrast, max contrast, max contrast. Light, and when I say max contrast, I mean there's like literally like a black against a white, or pretty close. Max contrast. See what I mean? Like, and it's circling me around the focal point, and you have characters here. Zero contrast at all. Look at that. You can't see that there are characters there at all. The light kind of helps that a little bit, but value-wise, it doesn't work. And then there's like little to no contrast in the center of the piece where you probably want it. You have to like kind of invert your entire design structure here, I think, to really have it working well. But also, I think if you simplify a lot of this at the same time, that's going to help you as well. So, right, get your values under control, simplify. See, like everything's super sharp, very busy shape-wise. Like, why not just have this be a cliff, like that? Like, do we need to have this jut out like that? Does it help the picture in any way? These are the questions. See, I'm asking you, but this is what I'd be asking myself if this is, and I do this on my own work all the time. Like, do I need this piece here to touch really closely to that for, this tree? Like, can I just simplify all of that here without that big piece? So you gotta edit yourself and like, what can I remove and still say the same thing, and then work kind of backwards from there. Kiko, what's up? You have a problem in this image, and that's this color right here. Look at that brown. And if you look at it, and we don't even have to edit it, right? Just look at a thumbnail. We'll even crop out the reference. All the contrast in the picture is like right here. That's probably not the point of the picture, right? This tree going over the sky, right? It's a problem because that's the only place where I'm looking. But then at the same time too, like as a thumbnail, I can only see that color brown, right? That I selected. It lacks the atmosphere and the color and the depth and the subtlety, I think, that you'd want to communicate, with this kind of lighting. So like here we don't really get a sense of like light kind of coming down. There's no shadows on the water. There's no clear spot where the light hits it. See, I don't know whose that is. Maybe it's your rough sketch. But again, that's what it is. It's a rough sketch. I don't think it makes it for a good reference to here. It's hard to tell which direction the lighting is actually coming down and hitting. It just needs more work because it definitely does not feel finished at this point. I don't know if it was finished. I didn't get any notes with that here, but definitely going to need some work. All right, Wizard of Legend. Values is what's getting you on this. Same thing, right? You duplicate this, desaturate it. You can't really see anything. It's all... Kiko had the red or the brown problem. You have this gray problem, and like 80% of your image is that value. See, we can run it through the test. Take a little bit of that detail out. See, like, it's too hard to see. If you want the viewer, right, to really focus on a very light figure like that, you're gonna have to create, right, that sense of contrast. Dark on light or light on dark. You kind of have warm on cool, but it's not enough to help save this, I think, here. And you have a very equally saturated image. If you want us to really look at that, you have to frame it in such a way that we can really see and perceive it. So see, I mean, instantly we have that. Now we could see it. That's a start. It's gonna need more. Need more neutrals, more value control. But it's also like, it's so small. And there's nothing super interesting or interesting enough going around it. Like, why not empower the subject of the picture and bring it in more? Design the piece more around that. That's how I'd start. Chisel. Oh my goodness. What do we have going on here? What do we have going on here? This is wild. See, this feels crazy. Like this could be my new cell phone background. It's really tall. I think that's, for me personally, problematic because you have some key moments of storytelling literally resting against the bottom of the plane, and you have really cool things up here, but narratively, is it worth the sacrifice we're doing to really crop out the importance of what's going down here? Not only is it on the bottom, it's literally in this square. So you have like such an important element, right? Look at it this way. We'll paint this very bluntly. Right, you got that, and then we just fill this with purple. This is what it's kind of saying. You have all of this real estate, but like we're putting all our eggs in a little basket that's tucked under the table in the corner of the room. Does that make sense? Like this is somewhat important as well. But there's a lot of contrast here. It's got multi-figures. Like there's a lot of importance going on. So I think you have to ask yourself, like, what is this picture really about? What's the best way to say that? You might have like a couple good pictures here. Like maybe this is a great picture, and maybe this is a whole separate thing in itself. But like, see what I mean? Like you can have, this is like a whole other picture that, you know, with some restructuring can be really nice in its own. You know, you can fill in this area, finish it up, add a nice backdrop. But it feels like there's different elements and forces here really going against itself. Again, watch the same suggestion I give to a bunch of people today. Like, watch how distracting and busy some of these shapes are. You could say the same thing with far fewer breakups of those components. You could add, if you don't crop it and end up kind of keeping this as is, I'd add a little more. There's a lot of black in this, and I'm like, yeah, you know, I'm not a big fan of that, but I think you can get a little more subtlety out of this. Like if you want to do like a yellow harrowing sort of sky, like see, like just creating like a little bit of separation of like what that light could do. Doesn't have to be a lot, but you know, just enough I think could help. Anyway, it's really cool. Aldecoro, Spring of Rebirth. This is cool. You got what I call a detail problem. Like everything is very consistently and evenly detailed. Like from this area in the corner to our focal point to this other area up in this corner to a random skull over here. You know what I mean? Like it's all very evenly distributed. And I think if you just say like, hey, I'm committing to this area here, and then, you know, soften, blend, and then tighten up that detail a little more, I think that could help. This is a tough lighting scheme, admittedly, to even nail. It's very soft, so it is harder. Like if you wanted to be a little more firm with that, you could take, you know, the light hitting some of the creatures. See, it's like it kind of is doing it, but you could go essentially even further. So I'm gonna just abuse this subtly as I quickly do this. When you just bring in like a little bit of a warmer color, so you can just gently hit, right, some of these areas in and around, leading us like right to it. And then you could calm down like other areas, see like back here and stuff, or that upper ledge, which you don't need as much. See, like I would take a lot of this out, replace it with like neutrals, personally. Like, so you just don't need it, right? You don't need it that busy. Well, I'm not solving all the problems here, and I am creating some new ones. But again, I'd start with like the core message, which is like right about here. And like, how do I set that up, and how can I minimize what information is being said back there. It's just an editing thing, at this stage. The two trees I'm not the biggest fan of, but I think the other thing's more important to address. I guess we're gonna go here. Lester. Listen, this is cool. It's got cool style. It's got cool vibes. It's got a weird sort of flow to it, though, for me. Like, okay, we're here, right? We're up here. I don't have a brush, apparently. Yeah, right, and it's going down, and whoop. It's just like a fishhook comp. It seems like if we're really about this spring, let's just own that center composition. You just completely center it and own that. Because it's like it wants to be in the front, but it's not in the front, right? It's got a commitment problem. Get rid of all this because that is distracting. Fill this out. Let's run a test. Let's see what the AI is going to do. Content aware. It's gonna look a little crazy, I think. Not as bad as I thought. Here we go. We'll just go with this for now. Make it a little bit asymmetrical, of course. And then like maybe just have the water flowing out and down. Something like that. Then have like a nice little aura, like kind of you're doing here with that light. I just maybe push that a little more, but it's cool. I like it. This is awesome. Really nice, kind of cool, consistent style. Really playful shapes and narrative. I think you could go further with this in terms of like just looking at the value structure. It seems, at least visually, it's all fairly even. See, like that? Like it's a lot of this 40% gray, no matter what we're looking at. So, see, like if you have like an area, maybe like this, that's around here, and framing part of that dragon, de-emphasize it or create emphasis on the dragon, by knocking the contrast and lightness back of that a little bit. I think, sure, like if the light's kind of coming in and you want to show like a little bit of light and stuff like hitting on these trees, I don't think that's inherently a bad thing. But I do think there needs to be a very kind of clear visual hierarchy. See, like this whole shape here, I'm not sure entirely what that is. It's a little tough to understand. Maybe it's how I'm looking at it. But see, like again, underneath the wing, even on this whole shape, like there, that's another piece that I guess like this is in front of it, so like that should have a fairly kind of clear, right, shadow, like that, and just soften it up. But you see how we're driving the viewer to look in very specific places. I think it just needs some adjustments like that and a little bit of clarity in regards to some of those parts. But I think it's beautiful and a lovely style on top of that, right? All right, Jobot. What? Jobot, I don't know. I don't know if this was like submitted super low res or... I mean, it's definitely low res, but it doesn't feel like it was finished, or... Yeah. It needs some love. All right, buddy? I think it's a cool idea. But again, it feels like a placeholder for something that should be finished sometime. Like, really blow this up, get some good reference, nail the anatomy of these nude folks. Like, I can't tell if this is, and that's the problem, right? Because it's unfinished. I don't know if that's rock. I don't know if that's dirt. I don't know if it's tree. Like, this could be 3 different things. I don't know what the white is on top of that. I'm not sure if this is a mountain or what. You know, you got to get in here and own this. Like, you know, is that a mountain back there? Is there green? Like, I don't know. You gotta work it some more. All right. Bean. This is super interesting. But again, I don't think this composition is really helping this. I think if you had done, like, all right, so a few things, right? Before we go to that. You have a character here. It's facing right off the canvas. There's an important action here. So, like, this is where the whole story is. In this corner again. And then you have, like, loads of this space that's not necessarily adding to that. You know, it feels very imbalanced because of that and how it's framed. So I think the solution to me would have been something, well, I didn't mean to grab square, right? But let's just drop in a frame really quickly here. So if that's the picture, I would have been setting it up so, like, the bottom is this, what's it called? Your desk, right? This desk. You get in there with some really cool perspective, right? You'll see the big honey thing in there. And this is the bottom of the canvas, by the way. I didn't clarify that, like, but I'd have it set so that we see it right from there. And then, you know, the character's holding the object, right? And then it's my character, hunchback. Right? You get the cool little wings, right? You get the whole design, you get all the cool things on it. This is what the scene is about. And this, you're telling and then you could have, you know, frame in the background this cool little setting, right? That you have it, and then you get the honey dripping in the background. Like, see what I mean? Like, that really speaks to what this is about. And you're just like, this picture is telling me this is about the floor. Everything is, like, about this floor. And nothing's happening on the floor. Watch your framing. Take my composition course. I recommend it. All right. Danny, this is great. Really cool. It's honestly, for me personally, a little disturbing to look at such little babies looking so uncomfortable and sad. But this is technically very well executed. Really got a lot going on here. I think maybe going, like, showing a little transparency subtly, right? With, see, that's a tricky thing. Maybe that's why you didn't do it, because you know how tough it is. Like, a little bit of transparency in parts of this, you know, could help. But this is lovely. I think I do like a little more detail around, like, you know, some of, like, what the water is doing and the specific reflections of that. A little more detail in these lily pads overall. But yeah, this is very well done. All right, thank you for submitting it. All right, so guys, these were my favorites for this month's overall. I think that Danny's here had the most polish, the most consistent level of finish. The subject matter isn't particularly my favorite, but again, credit is certainly given where it's due. Fantastic job. Cypher, I loved yours thematically the most, but I think out of all these, it has the furthest work to go. So keep at it. And what's not to love about Damiano's piece? This is wild. It's inventive. And with some fixes, it can go a long way. Congratulations. I love this piece. So the next challenge, we're going to do sci-fi summer vibes with some kind of artificial life sort of theme. I think this is a perfect way to kick off the summer, since this will be due June 28th. And yeah, you guys know the drill. Just I'll try to get a link to the Discord group in the description, so check down there below. Just submit it under the proper channel over there. And yeah, hopefully I'll get some company to do it. I just posted just some random screenshots of some of my favorite types of games, things like Phantasy Star, Xenoblade, Halo, and Final Fantasy, that all have a very kind of hit for the most part, most of those check boxes. So yeah, have fun, go wild with this. Don't forget, this video is sponsored by WingFox. You guys can check out the links in the promo codes description below, and I'll catch you guys next time.